All right. So thank you once again to Terry and Health 101 for inviting me to this platform. And so just a brief disclaimer, if I may say. So as I pointed out, I mean, this topic may be controversial to some. Maybe some of this information may be new, maybe old, maybe recycle. I'm not sure which point you are at the moment, but a lot of these material may be confused with a lot of other misinformation that is out there nowadays, especially with the internet, and everyone's free to blog anything and vlog on YouTube or whatever as well. So there's a lot of information out there, but I mean, just to preamble, me and my wife Aina, we started this health journey about almost a decade ago when we think about it. And thanks a lot to the inspiration and a lot of thought-provoking wisdom, I would say, because when we attended the health talks and seminars by the late Dr. Aziz before, he would always ask us or ask the audience to basically, you need to think and read. You need to read and really think and gain the knowledge to really understand all this. And because in his talks, he likes to try to explain the cause and effect of things and how things relate to each other. And of course, in the beginning, it really was mumbo jumbo to us as well. But as we went along and read some of the materials that he referred to, which I will be touching on later on as well, it kind of like opened a lot of doors to us and really gave us a better idea of how to appreciate and understand this very difficult topic. All right. So for today, I hope everyone would have an open mind, and of course, I would encourage everyone to also do your own research, of course, from reliable, unbiased, and credible sources as well. And I just like to point out that I am not a medical doctor, but a wellness practitioner and advocate. So if you have any certain conditions, medical conditions and so forth, do also still please consult your attending physician or the friend that brought you here and ask for their advice how to move forward from here. All right, thank you. So we'll move on. So what we'll be covering, okay, so we'll start off with what foods, maybe I just want to ask the audience what foods have cholesterol? Maybe you can share in the chat. I would like to hear your thoughts. What do you know about cholesterol? What kind of foods contain cholesterol? Maybe try to think of a few that have very high cholesterol. If you can put that in the chat box there and share. Yeah, oily food, roti canai, animal-based food. Yep. Okay, red meat, eggs. Okay. All right, keep them coming. All right, and then later on, we'll be looking at the topic of what is actually cholesterol for. I mean, I'm sure God made cholesterol for a reason, so we'll be touching a little bit on that. And then look at effects of a healthy diet. And we'll also touch a little bit on maybe certain boosting effects, and we'll close it off after that, okay? All right, good. Seafood, mutton, okay, good. So all these are actually sources of cholesterol. So if I show you this picture here, all right, this slide here, which foods have high cholesterol? Can you point out? Yeah, so based on this, the chat room just now. So I think you have identified the chicken here. All right, let me see if I can get the pointer out. The pointer, oops. You still see my screen, right? Okay. Let's see. There you go. So we have the chicken, as people pointed out. The eggs, yes, definitely have cholesterol as well. The steak here. And if you did not notice, this is bacon wrapped sausages. High in cholesterol as well. So, yep. So these are the foods that have cholesterol. But did you notice a trend? I don't know if you noticed, but do you notice a trend? Which ones have cholesterol and which ones don't? The plant-based items, those do not have cholesterol. So the papaya, the fruits, the potatoes, the veggies, the tofu, the bananas, they don't have any cholesterol. Okay, so we'll be diving in deeper about that. Okay, so I don't know about you, but this was one of my go-to breakfasts when I was commuting to work. There was a very convenient roadside McDonald's drive-through, and so I would frequent that maybe once a week or so, and have a coffee with it. And they had good promos at that time, and so this was one of the contributors to my health deterioration at one point in my life. But if you notice here, the sausage egg muffin. All right, so what do you see here? I highlighted here, saturated fat is at 10 grams for this meal. And the cholesterol just with this harmless looking sausage egg McMuffin is 254 milligrams. Okay, please remember the figure. It is a 3-digit figure, 254, okay? All right, so let's look at the next one. All right, so this is the most controversial one, of course, because I'm an egg lover too, or I was an egg lover too. Okay, all right, and eggs are really, I mean, of course, they have the nutrition of the proteins. They have the I forgot what else they had, but basically they are dubbed as the high protein food without the carbs, so it's gluten free and stuff like that. But of course, if we look at it closer, they normally the egg industry conveniently leaves out the fact that it has 5 grams of fat. In fact, from which is 1.5 grams of saturated fat. And please remember these different fat terms, as we'll touch a little bit on it as well. And for each egg, one large egg in this example has about 185 milligrams of cholesterol. So that's another 3-digit number, close to 200. But do people normally eat 1 egg a day for breakfast? What do they eat? Kalau mama, they eat
2 eggs.
dua biji lah kan. Mana ada minum makan sebiji. So you always eat in pairs. So this you basically double lah. Double this. So you're actually consuming 370 milligrams of cholesterol and 3 grams of saturated fat. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's look at the list of the top 10. Okay, this one I just Googled it, of course, but their sources is from My Food Data. And I believe there's many lists out there, but I'm just citing this particular list where they took top 10 highest cholesterol foods. So it's in order of the highest cholesterol. And I guess it's a meal in a sense. So the McDonald's Big Breakfast has if you're going out with a family, I don't know, I used to do this as well. I mean, I know I'm not denying the fact that I was in this camp as well. It is tasty. There's salt in it, that's why it's tasty. The high salt content, the high sodium content. I think there's a little bit of sugar. If you take it with the pancakes, there's a lot of sugar there as well. So all in all, the total cholesterol here is 465 milligrams. And with this meal, you also get 17 grams of saturated fat. And of course, the calorie count is quite high as well. But if you go down, I mean, like liver at one serving is about 400 milligrams of cholesterol as well. One chicken leg is 300. Okay, 3 digits, 300. Canned shrimp, 1 cup of shrimp is about 300. Chocolate mousse is that kind of dessert. I think it's made out of eggs and yeah, primarily eggs, maybe some milk. So 283 milligrams. Okay, and the bacon just now you saw about 36 for 3 slices. Cheese as well, butter. Okay. So if you look at this, all this, as we pointed out, is all animal-based foods, right? So it's either from a cow or from a chicken or from seafood or and other live animals. Okay. All right. So let's compare this to the fruit and veggie kingdom. Okay. So what foods have cholesterol? When we look at it, dun, da, da, 0 cholesterol. Okay. If you learn anything from this segment, this presentation, I hope you pick this up, that animals, animal meats and animal foods all contain cholesterol, whereas the plant kingdom, the fruit kingdom do not have any cholesterol. Okay, there's 0 cholesterol. Okay, and in fact, if you look at the saturated fat, most of it, I'm saying most, does not contain I mean, negligible amounts of saturated fat, less than 1 gram. And the only ones that is high in saturated fat are like avocados, the nuts. Maybe I did not put here. All the walnuts, almonds, and all that would probably have some saturated fat as well. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but avocado, or cup of avocado is 3 grams of saturated fat. Coconut 24, and durians. Now it's durian season, right? So rejoice, durian lovers out there. There's no saturated fat in durian. However, if you are diabetic, I would still be mindful because of the high calories and sugar content. Okay. All right. So, but I mean, like if you're not in the I guess unhealthy zone, then I think it's no problem to binge on the durian once in a while. Okay. All right. So if you compare to the slide before, what we're looking at, see the saturated fat column here. Some of them are even double digits. All right. And the cholesterol, a lot of them are triple digits. Whereas the veggie ones, at best, is a 2-digit number. And the worst culprit here is coconut, because it is primarily just saturated fat. But even if you consume coconut every single day, it's not as bad as these guys. And what are we doing now in the typical Malaysian diet? We have three of these guys every day, right? 3 portions of them at least nowadays. I mean, dulu the humble nasi lemak was just bilis and peanuts. Now it's bilis, peanuts, and a big piece of chicken or some meat or sotong and stuff like that. All right. So there's a lot more to it than the humble meal. All right. Okay. So and on top of that, if you notice, I put an extra column for the fruit and veggie. They contain fiber. Okay, maybe I should have put another column in the previous slide as well. The animal foods, the animal source foods, all do not contain any fiber, 0 fiber. So animals have 0 fiber, whereas fruit and vegetables have 0 cholesterol. So since this is a topic about cholesterol, so I'll be focusing on that moving on, okay? All right, I hope that was clear. So then begs the question, what is cholesterol, right? So what is cholesterol? I'm sure God made it for a reason. There's a function for it in our body. So when we look at it, cholesterol is actually part of the cell membrane. There's a function that in our body, of course, you have your bones and muscles, and your muscles are made out of cells. And each of these cells have a membrane. It's basically the walls lining of the cell. And so part of the composition of the cell membrane is actually cholesterol. All right. So it's important that we have cholesterol to form new cells, right? I'm sure some of you may know in here that our body regenerates these cells constantly, and some may even quote that our body is recycled every 7 or 10 years. I forgot the exact number, right? So we have almost like completely changed all our cells in our body, okay? So cell membranes make up, cholesterol is used in the cell membrane, and the other part is cholesterol is actually used to produce hormones. All right, all the hormones in our body. Okay, I may qualify for that. Maybe not all. I need to double check with Dr. Azinda. But a lot of the hormones in our body do use cholesterol as the base, and so it's a building block for that. All right, for sure, testosterone, estrogen are based off the cholesterol molecule. All right, so that's what cholesterol does. And naturally, our body already produces these cholesterol naturally. Okay, so and it's produced by the bile, and so our body naturally produces the cholesterol. So now begs the question, do we need more cholesterol? So, and that's normally where the debate is. All right, because if you remember the slides before, where is the source of cholesterol? It's only in animal foods, right? But what is the typical Malaysian diet or American diet nowadays? A lot of animal meats, proteins and stuff inside our meals. So there is basically unavoidable to consume cholesterol as well, although our body doesn't really need it, okay? So what would be an ideal cholesterol level in our body? Okay, so I took this from the internet as well, and from the US Department of Health. And the bigger numbers are what the Americans would use. All right, they use that measurements, but in Malaysia we normally use the smaller number. So the magic number that we all need to remember is total cholesterol should be less than 5.2. Okay, total cholesterol should be less than 5.2. And another very important marker that we should take note is the LDL cholesterol. So there's two types of cholesterol, which is the, or three here, HDL, LDL, and triglycerides. All right, but the LDL is what we need to reduce as much as possible. HDL in general, we want to have more. Okay, all right. So we here for LDL, we need to be less than 2.58. All right, and I believe these numbers are also ratified by the KKM. And basically, if you have a cholesterol, total cholesterol higher than 6.2, you're considered to be in a high cholesterol category group. And if your LDL is more than 4.11, you're also at the high range and very high risk towards other diseases. So what kind of diseases would cholesterol affect the body? Basically, these kind of diseases. So high cholesterol is attributed to stroke, memory loss, dementia, heart disease, heart attacks, even abdominal pain, blood flow, atherosclerosis, cramps, and diabetes as well. All right. Okay, so when we say the HDL and LDL just now, the two types of cholesterol, I think the layman way to think about it, HDL is the good ones, LDL is the bad ones. All right, and what I want you to see here is you can think of it as the HDL are the good guys. They are the, so cholesterol needs it's like how oxygen works in our body. We need to breathe oxygen and release carbon dioxide. Cholesterol also works in the way that the body needs to deliver the cholesterol to the cells, right, to be used. And then after that, they take away the used parts and remove it from the cells out of the body. Okay, so the ones who, the Grab driver yang bawa the cholesterol to the cells is called LDL. All right, but HDL is the one, the DBKL lah, yang come and pick up the sampah and remove the remnants, okay, and bring it out from the body. Okay, that's the HDL. So if we have imbalance of either one, so then it will cause havoc in our body lah. Okay, so if the LDL is too high and not enough garbage trucks, you can imagine too much sampah everywhere, not enough garbage trucks to pick up, what will happen? Flies will come coming in. Right? Similarly, so if we increase garbage trucks, then the efficiency of removing all this trash is also increased and improved. Okay. All right. So this is a statement from PCRM. PCRM stands for the Physician Committee for Responsible Medicine, which is set up by a group of doctors who are primarily plant-based in nature. They advocate plant-based because they have seen all the evidence in science and research that have pointed that plant-based lifestyle and diets do improve everyone's well-being and health. All right. And one of the things about, so the statement here says the fat and cholesterol found in eggs can harm heart health and lead to diabetes, as well as prostate and colorectal cancer. So it's not just heart attacks that we should worry about, but all this can also attribute to these other chronic diseases. Okay, and these are some other evidences that you can read here, and maybe I can share later with Terry if anyone's keen. But they have info on this on their website. All this is from their website on pcrm.org. Okay, so unlike fats, all right. So we've heard of fats and cholesterol. So I think I always confused before what's the difference between fats and cholesterol. So it is kind of different. Unlike fat, cholesterol can't be exercised off. So even if you run a marathon, you cannot burn off cholesterol, okay? But you can burn off fat. I think that's a key point, all right? So we do have certain fats that we do need to consume, which is, you probably heard of AHA, DHA, right? The omega-3 fats and all that. But at the same time, nowadays, in our typical Malaysian American style diet, we have a lot of omega-6 as well, which is not required to be consumed because we already can produce it in our body. So again, when we have that imbalance, that's when our body goes haywire and all these chronic diseases happen. So I don't have time to go into the fat segments, so I'll just focus on the cholesterol. But
it can harm heart health and lead to diabetes, such as prostate and cholesterol.
Yes. All right. So if you want to find out more, do read up about it. You go to the website and you can refer to your friend who brought you here or your attending physician or doctor and ask more about this information. Okay. All right. So what can we do? So what can we do as if you're not a doctor, I'm not a doctor. So what can we do? What can we do immediately without taking any medicine or drugs or anything? We can actually just focus on our diet. Okay, when I say diet, doesn't mean reduced food. Is what diet means in the nutrition terms just means to be mindful of what you eat and choose the right kind of foods to eat. Okay, that's what diet means. Okay, so like how we started earlier, it's all in the package. All right. So just to recap, the animal foods, beef, pork, chicken, lamb, duck, or whatever animal foods, they're high in saturated fats. And these saturated fats, on top of the cholesterol, so they already contain cholesterol, that's one problem. But these saturated fats also convert to cholesterol. All right, especially the LDLs. Okay, so it and it triggers increased production of cholesterol. So it's a double whammy there. Okay, all right, and it doesn't have any fiber, so it doesn't help at all. So the only good thing about animal foods is that it has protein. Yes, protein is still important, but there are lots of other sources out there to get your protein. Okay, all right, and so because of this high cholesterol, high fat content of the animal foods, it causes inflammation in the body, keradangan, it inflames the body in our artery walls and so forth, and which would eventually lead to lifestyle chronic diseases. And when you hear the word chronic, at first I thought the word chronic means acute or sudden, but it's not sudden. Chronic means over a long period of time. That means this is the food that you've been eating every single day for the past 5, 10, 15, 20 years, right? So it has been accumulating in your body. And bit by bit, it's getting worse and worse. And before you know it, you get something, right? All right. Okay, so let's look at the plants. The plants have no saturated fat, zero, okay? No cholesterol, zero cholesterol. And they're high in fiber, which, why I highlighted fiber? Because fiber actually helps to absorb and lower cholesterol levels. So it has a cholesterol lowering effect. Okay, so that's why it's very, very important for us and everyone to increase your fruit and veggie intake. Remember the WHO recommendation? At least 5, but 5 is not yet optimal. If you want to have optimal, it should be 9 servings of fruit and veggie per day. But that's not stopping you. Of course, if you want to have more, go ahead. All right. But it's the fiber that helps with the cholesterol lowering effect. And on top of that, these fruit and veggies are rich in antioxidants. And because they're rich in antioxidants and the vitamins and minerals and all this, they have anti-inflammatory properties, which is lawan opposite of what the animal foods are doing, right? Okay, so if you want to counter the animal foods that you're eating, you definitely need more plant and fruit and veggies in your diet. And because of this anti-inflammatory effect, it will have a protective effect to your body, and inshallah, it will help to reduce your risk and exposure to chronic and lifestyle metabolic diseases. Okay. All right. So I'm sure this is all a lot of information for those who are new. But if you're not so new or new, I would highly recommend these resources. And these are the same books that even the late Dr. Aziz recommended to us to read as well and go through to really understand this topic at hand. So these are books out there. You can get them readily on Amazon or other sources. And so Dean Ornish is a very one of the pioneers in this area, who basically through the diet, just by changing your foods, you can reverse heart disease. You can reverse and reduce the plaque buildup, the cholesterol buildup in your artery walls. Okay. Dr. Colin Campbell and Thomas Campbell, they wrote this book called China Study. It's still regarded as one of the most comprehensive nutrition wellness study long-term, with thousands and thousands of people involved. I forgot the number of people. I think more than 10,000 people involved in China over 40 years. All right. So they study, and basically in that book, basically it says before Chinese culture, predominantly rice, fruit and veg, right? That's how we grew up, right, Terry? And friends, right? So, but once they adopted the Western culture, McDonald's came in, KFC came in, Starbucks came in, and that's when they started to consume dairy milk, cow's milk, and that's when all these issues came. All right. And lastly, this other book I would highly recommend if you haven't seen it before, by Dr. Michael Greger. He has a blog called nutritionfacts.org, How Not to Die, where he talks a lot about all these different lifestyle diseases, including heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, and how the diet can impact those items as well. All right. Okay. Oops. All right. So I guess some of you may be wondering, so what kind of foods specifically can I eat to really increase the effects? All right. So yes, fruit and veggies in general would be the best way to go. And you should omit and avoid as much as possible. If you can't completely avoid it, okay, fine. But at least make it 80%, if not 90% of the foods that you eat is primarily fruit and veg. Okay. But in specific, if you already have cholesterol issues and problems and all that, you should also consider these particular foods, which has been proven to help to reduce and boost the lower LDL cholesterol lowering effect. Okay. And this is based on a study from University of Toronto. This is also cited by pcrm.org, which it reduced LDL cholesterol by 30% in 4 weeks. Okay. Oats, beans, barleys, any other foods with high soluble fiber, soy protein, nuts like almonds and walnuts in particular, wheat germ, wheat bran, Brussels sprouts, and other foods containing phytosterols. Okay. All right. So I know it might be a lot of jargon to some, but to be simple, your oats and barley and beans, all good. All right. Soy drinks, anything that soy product like tofu, tempeh, and whatnot, all good. Okay. All right. Okay, so this is Dr. Neil Banat, by the way, who's the founder of PCRM.org. So he's the founder and still current president for the organization. And so basically, he was giving a lecture and he cited this study. I'm not sure if it's his published study or some other of his colleagues, but basically, looking at meta-analysis, looking at a few other research studies, scientific papers out there. And so there's the Jenkins, Ornish, as I mentioned just now, Keston, Apple, and Gardner. So all these, even if you're not a perfect vegan or plant-based, if you notice, the LDL and total cholesterol actually lowered. So negative means lowering effect, okay? Which is very good, okay? And like mentioned earlier, these are the one of the studies actually use this, the Jenkins study just now, the Jenkins here. So among the foods that they really promoted and avoided all the animal, I think they avoided all the animal proteins, is to increase in oats, barley, eggplant, okra, psyllium husk, okay? A lot of fiber content there as well. Soy milk, in this study, they still use fake meats. So this is soy meat, proteins, and so forth. Whole almonds and other like the plant margarines. Okay, all right. Not that I would recommend it, but this is what they use in the study, if you're wondering. Okay, so in 4 weeks, they reduced LDL by 29%. So if we compare, I mean, according to Dr. Neil Barnard, Jenkins as well. So basically they saw that the average effect of cholesterol lowering drugs like statins and so forth is about 30%. So in other words, you don't have to depend on the drugs. But that being said, please don't stop your drugs straight away. Do consult your doctor as well. Tell them that you're doing the diet change and doing this and this. And of course, they will need to balance out the dosage and whatnot if you're facing some medical conditions. Okay. All right. So this just now was a lot of studies abroad. So I'm bringing a study or basically a program which is available now in Malaysia. I'm working alongside with my colleagues here in the Plant-Based Health Alliance. So they offer and conduct these, what they call it, a clean eating challenge. All right. So it is a predominantly plant-based, whole food plant-based meal program. And there are two programs. One is 7 days duration, one is 14 days. All right. And these are the results of the cholesterol levels. Okay. So all in all, even for 7 days, you can see a cholesterol lowering effect. Okay. Whole food, plant-based, no sugar, no oils, no salt, or very limited. Okay. That's the idea. So when they do that, you can see this kind of effect. And this is Malaysians doing it with Malaysian kind of food. What kind of food? It's not grass food. Okay, so I'm just going to show you some examples of the food. So these are some of the foods that they offer. All right. And if you're wondering where you can get it, if you're in Klang Valley, you're in luck. So they do serve the Klang Valley area. And if you want to order, you can go to the website pbhall.org and get this kind of food. So it's guilt-free, whole food, plant-based Malaysian style food, Malaysianized food. All right. And if you haven't tried it before, I would highly recommend it. And if you want a link later, maybe I can share it in the chat. Okay. So just hurry up to finish off. So what can boost the cholesterol lowering effect further? There are some supplementations out there, but basically what it is plant-based supplementations. All right. So what are we talking about? We want to look for high quality antioxidant phytonutrients, very high quality, so that we can avoid the oxidative buildup in the artery walls and all that. If you already have the cholesterol there, you don't want it to oxidize. Once it's oxidized, dia macam melekat, macam super glue in your artery walls, lagi susah nak keluar. That's why you need the antioxidants. All right. Soy drinks, the soy protein drinks, like I was mentioning before, the soybeans somehow have a cholesterol lowering effect. And omega-3 oils have the AHA, DHA, the good fats that we do need to consume and have more of. And nowadays, I think, okay, Nutrilite is a particular brand that me and my wife and my family have been using over the past decade or more. And we love the brand because it is a very transparent global brand, #1 in the world, and they have their own certified organic farms as well, and they incorporate the best of nature and the best of science. And so in particular, so Nutrilite also just released a kids version of the Omega, which is purely plant-based as well, which is great as well. So it's an option, and you can also help your kids to have good DHA, AHAs. Okay, the other one that I would recommend if you want to get supplements. So let's say for whatever reason, you really don't like vegetables and fruits and really can't fathom the idea of changing your diet for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. So then I guess you do need to supplement with fiber. Okay, because the fibers help to, of course, it will help with the bowel movement, help with your body, help with creating more probiotics and good microbiome in your stomach, but also will help to lower your cholesterol levels as well. And the chia seed as well also have good omega fats as well. And the green tea has also cholesterol lowering effects as well with the catechins, which is a very strong, potent phytonutrient. Okay. All right, I don't think I have time to go through one by one, but I just wanted to point the one for soy protein. The Nutrilite soy protein in particular is a blend of soy, wheat, and peas. And so it's a whole 100% plant-based protein drink. Me and my family love it because it's very convenient. So I mean, like nowadays, of course, there's all these plant milks as well, but they're quite pricey. Okay, if you started to look into it. But I think the Neutralite one is very value for money and very convenient. You can bring it anywhere. You can pack the protein powder like a milk powder, like before for babies and all that. So it's the same thing. And like I said, it has the essential amino acids, complete protein essential amino acids. It has the cholesterol lowering effect, and it has a very good PDCAAS score, which is the digestibility of the proteins. So it's easy to digest. It's easy on your stomach as well. Okay. All right. So to conclude, all right. So I think I opened up with this, that there are a lot of misinformation out there nowadays. All right. And the information space, the YouTubes, the Google, all that is fighting for the same audience. All right. And the debate about cholesterol has been positive and negative, like a roller coaster over the last 2 decades. All right. So I know it's very, very confusing. I also remember the time, I don't know if you remember this Time magazine cover. This was the time they said cholesterol is safe. You can eat all the meats and sausages you want. You can load up on the butter every time. But right after that, I think a couple of years after that, they did it a few other studies again. So based on some of the based on PCRM, they analyzed, and basically they said the cholesterol research field in the past decade, about 90+% of them are industry funded. What do I mean by industry funded? They're funded by the egg industry, they're funded by the dairy industry, they're funded by the beef industry, poultry industry, and so forth. So you understand where I'm coming from, right? So I hope you need to do your own due diligence, make sure you get the right information from the right sources. So this from WHO, very still relevant for us as well. This one they released for COVID, because COVID also has a lot of misinformation as well. So they want people to really be understanding where they get their knowledge, and don't simply viral if you haven't checked it yet properly, and at least do a simple check of who is saying this, who's certified it, or other people are recognizable and reputable people are also identifying with it as well. So my final message: eat predominantly plant-based foods. Okay, even if you can't go 100%, I understand. I was in the same shoes as before. I've only started changing completely only the past 2 years. Okay, my family maybe have a bit longer, but I know a lot of you, or a lot of Malaysians out there, still can't understand the fact why we should go plant-based. But I hope this session has enlightened some and give some points, and maybe give some ideas, at least for your health and loved ones, that this can be helpful for you, and you can take control of your life again. And because I hope everyone is safe and sound, and because I have been having a lot of colleagues dying on me left, right, and center, okay, due to COVID and even heart attacks and diseases. So I hope this can be beneficial to you and your loved ones as well. So, okay, so I think I will conclude with this. Think about it. Okay, this is Dr. Dean Ornish. Heart disease and diabetes, which account for more deaths in the US and worldwide than everything else combined, are completely preventable by making comprehensive lifestyle changes without the need of drugs and surgery. With that, thank you very much. I pass it back to Terry.
Thank you so much, Faisal. Well, he did say that he was going to be controversial, right? And it was most fascinating as usual. The thing with being controversial is the thing about us in Health 101. I think you'll find with the speakers is that they take a position, but they also invite you to. Sorry, I'm just having a bit of difficulty trying to spotlight both of us. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we might take a strong position in something, but we invite you to do your own research. We don't want to push it down your throat. And I really appreciated the fact that Faisal gave us a lot of references, to research. So, so I hope you do your own research, but I also wish that you would take, some of the advice that Faisal gives, because I know for a fact that he and his family have done really well on a plant-based. If you've got any questions, feel free to put it in the chat group. So there was a question earlier about in what condition will you have HDL was the question, but I suppose maybe Eileen means how do you increase your HDL, the good cholesterol?
That's a very good question, and I believe the answer to that is to focus on the high quality, not cholesterol. There's no such thing as high quality cholesterol. High quality fats that have higher HDL content, which is the omega-3s. I think it's the omega-3s that we want. We have enough omega-6 in our body, and we consume it. If you consume other processed foods and all that, they have high omega-6s, so you don't need any more omega-6s. You don't need to consume it. What we need to still ingest is omega-3 sources, which has the AHA and DHA. All right, so the good sources of this, I would highly recommend still to avoid the eggs, because it has all the other stuff as well, which is the cholesterol and the saturated fat. Of course, it may some may claim that they have the omega-3s, DHA and AHA, but there's so many other sources out there that you can get which is free from those kind of fats. Even if you take the avocados, which is also have these good omega-3 fats as well, but of course in anything we do want to take it with moderation because of the saturated fat content, but still not as bad as the other animal food sources lah, as I hope I clearly pointed out earlier, the 3-digit ones. Yeah, okay. So the avocado only 2-digit lah, but still don't go overboard lah. Don't eat like 5 avocados a day, or olive oils. If you had to eat olive oils, I would suggest eating the olives as whole, because then you get the fiber. Olive oil is just the oil without the fiber, zero fiber. But if you want the goodness of the olive oil fats, consume olive as a whole. But the thing is that if you go to the shop and find olives, they're normally loaded with, they're soaked in the sodium, in the salt brine, pickled. So that is also not good either, especially if you have hypertension. But if that is the only source and you still want it, a little bit is fine. Make sure you wash it or rinse it off, or soak it with normal water to kind of like drain some of the salt away. Yeah.
So Faisal, Sheila's question, I guess, means that if you're eating normal food and you kind of like not going plant-based or not doing a lot to reduce the cholesterol, so would taking more fiber and fruit and vegetables will help?
Yes, of course.
Counter.
To counter, yes, definitely. You still want to increase the fruit and veggie intake. The fiber is the key. The fiber is the key. I believe among the top foods that I mentioned just now that has the cholesterol lowering effect, like oats, barley, and all that, were meant to be eaten as a whole food, meaning to say you don't eat the instant oats, not the because they are reduced in fiber as well. So you want the high fiber rolled oats, right? And even the soybean, of course, if you can consume soybean like that, it will be great. But tofu and tempeh are acceptable as well because they're minimally processed. And the neutralized soy protein is also it has contained the protein, but it probably doesn't have the fiber that if you take it in the whole form. All right. So yes, to answer Shima's question, fruits and veggies would have the fiber content. And if you need to, and you don't think you can take enough fruit and veggie every single day, then maybe taking a supplement or two to address that would also help to boost that effect. Yeah.
So Faisal, I know you have a very strong position against eggs, but Shima's pointed out that a lot of weight management programs, they recommend like high numbers of eggs, in order to lose fat. So is that advisable? And what would the alternative be?
I mean, I remember when I was in that camp as well. I was there as well. I mean, I just to be transparent, I did that as well. I promoted a weight management program where we had eggs like 6-8 times a day. So not just 2 in the morning, but 6 times, 10 times a day. But I still remember one of the sessions that we had with the qualified nutritionist. They also said that, yes, eggs can, but if possible, find other sources. So I think that's what we should advise if possible. because eggs are not the only easy protein foods out there. So I would highly recommend, for instance, like tofu. If you are creative with how you prepare the tofu, you can have like uh, my wife now has a way to make the tofu like a French fry, or like a popcorn nugget. So you actually air fry it and it puffs up, and it's quite crispy and quite tasty as a snack. So I think, and other examples are like air fried tempeh. So you cut it up thin slice and put it in the air fryer, and you don't need any oils. You can then just season it with salt and pepper and maybe chili, and to flavor it. So those are the kind of things that you can do to find alternatives. But we just need to be creative and find what we can do and can't do. Okay.
Thank you. Shirley's asked for the name of that plant-based restaurant again. Faisal, do you
Oh,
mind
okay.
typing it down in
So
the
if
chat?
you are keen to try out their offerings, they do need to be pre-ordered a day in advance. So they're not the same day. They're not, but they are also available on Grab. If you go to Grab, it's, I believe their
PB
name,
Hall. Yeah.
PB Hall or Plant-Based Health. Okay, so you can
Okay.
check that out. And uh, yeah, I mean, like if you want to try their foods, what the greatest thing about them is that they have Malaysianized a healthy version of the Malaysian food. Yeah. So, and it's very
Okay.
tasty. My whole family loves it. Yeah.
So is it true that plant-based food are just a lot more expensive than regular food?
At first, I thought that was the case, because if you're, especially if you're talking about the hipster organic plant-based
Yeah.
restaurants, yes, it could be more expensive. But if you're careful about how you spend, and actually when you think about it, the mama fried chicken is not cheap either nowadays, right? If I'm not mistaken, well, last time when I bought it, it was about at least 5, 6, 7 ringgit
I
per
think 7
chicken,
ringgit you
per
can get it.
piece, per piece.
Yes,
That's just the
correct.
chicken, belum not the nasi lemak on top of
Yeah,
it. So your meal is already 15 ringgit as well,
yeah.
you know. So when you think of that and you replace it with something more healthier and you know it's good for your body. I mean, we only have one body, so I think it just makes sense. And once you cut off all the other stuff, then you can convert to, and I'm not saying that you need to go all organic or non-GMO and stuff like that. Do the basic plant-based stuff first, then you can progress to the organic items. But because I've gone through that transition, I've reduced, I mean, I never buy any more meats and dairy products anymore directly. But so that the funds that was used for that, now I can buy higher quality vegetables, the organic ones. I mean, there are still some organic vegetables that are really out of reach for me too. I mean, like if you want organic apples, they're about 20 ringgit per kilo. So it still doesn't make sense to maybe get those kind of things. But I mean, there's a lot of organic stuff out there that are available from Cameron Highlands, and our local farmers are also doing it. Yeah.
Um, sorry, one question from Jace. Hard-boiled egg, does it help with the cholesterol? Any
No.
difference? No, same,
Eggs,
right?
any form or any would still have the same amount of cholesterol. But what I do want to caution, do not eat raw eggs. That's for sure. That one, you are just increasing your risk to other bacteria. I
Bacterial.
forgot the
Yeah.
salmonella and other things. So if you are to consume eggs, definitely not raw, not like the Japanese. I don't know. Maybe they have highly sanitized eggs. Maybe that's why. So, but for us in Malaysia, definitely not. My wife is a former veterinarian. She's been to those kind of farms, so she knows what they do. So, yeah,
Okay.
not
And
recommended.
she, okay. Yep, I get you there.
Yeah.
Shima's question is, maybe we'll take that as the last question. Children and teenagers, can they get high cholesterol?
Yes, according to the latest, there's a booklet. I think Dr. Azlinda can validate this. There's a document that is published by KKM periodically, which is intended for medical professionals, which is the what to do with CVD, I think, cardiovascular disease, and how to treat the protocols for treating the patients and so forth, and advising them. So I just glanced through it the other day and saw that it is very well documented and seen now that in Malaysia, the rise of CVD cases, cardiovascular disease, is across the board. not just us adults, but even the younger children and teenagers. So it's very important that they are also well educated in this nature. Yes, they need the good fats and they need the good carbs, but they don't need all these high cholesterol foods, especially fast foods and processed foods and so forth. Of course, once in a while, if you can't avoid it and they really want it and you want to treat them, fine. But if you can move them away from those, then that would be great. Yeah.
Thank you. And our kids are what we feed them, isn't it? Yeah. So
Yes,
we have
yes.
to
Oh,
kind
it
of
starts
always
from
make
us.
that first.
We are the
Absolutely.
role model, and I think
Yeah.
that's how me and Aina we have brought up our kids to do that. And it starts from us, and the more that we educate them about the importance why we're doing this, is important to educate our kids as well. If we just feed them and force feed them, it's not going to work. We need to educate them, watch some movies, documentaries about it with them, and then they can understand what we're trying to do and appreciate it as well. Yeah.
So let me ask you one last question. So you've been on this plant-based thing for 2 years now. Do you feel kind of restricted when you go out and eat with friends and all that? Do they look at you kind of like weird? Oh, Faisal and his family are kind of weird. Do you feel any restraints
In the
in your
beginning, yes.
lifestyle?
In the beginning, it was, I guess, a transition. It was awkward moments here and there. I mean, you know, the office parties that if you didn't order it, sorry, tough luck, then you'll just be left with the drinks only to look at. So, yes, I've been in those situations, but I guess we just need to be mindful. And so I've learned to then, if we have those parties, if I'm not in charge or have no say in the foods, then I will bring my own food as well. Order some food and maybe order a side-on menu to the party as well. You know, so those kind of
Okay.
things. For restaurants, I think because yeah, if you keep it to yourself, then nobody will know. But once you educate your friends and colleagues out there, they will understand and empathize. And so they make, at least my friends now know that I mean, we don't go to full vegan or plant-based restaurants, but at least we have plant-based options.
Yeah.
So what I've learned from that experience, Tony Romas is a no because they have nothing plant-based. Their salads are abysmal as well. So, for example, anyways, yeah.
Okay, so the people around you get used to it as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you kind of adjust.
I mean, in the beginning, it is kind of awkward moments here and there, but I think as we go along, you find creative ways. Yeah.
And your kids are not feeling like deprived, like, oh, I can't eat ice cream. And they're pretty
Fortunately
healthy
for
and
us, our
happy,
kids
right?
did not know any better. So
Okay.
plus
Okay.
they're at this point where they are very well informed and educated that they would actually try to educate the other person who's of course we try to be mindful in the realms of culture as well, you know, so sensitivity as well. And I think the MCO is a blessing as well, so we don't have all the social awkwardness anymore. So if you do want to adopt it now, now's the time, before you go into the social settings again. And so if you want to try it, do for your health and try it out. Yeah.
Okay, that's a great idea. Thank you so much, Faisal. I told you that he'll be very challenging, but I always find it fascinating and really inspiring. So thank you so much, Faisal, for your time, and thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you very much,
all for
Terry,
being
and everyone.
here. Yeah, keep safe and yeah, keep well and start plant-based, right, guys? Take care.
Stay safe, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, Faisal. Thank you,
Thank
Terry.
you.
Thank you, Faisal.
Sama-sama.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Faisal.
Okay, bye-bye. See you.
Sama-sama. You're
Terry.
welcome, everyone. Thank
Terry.
you.
Hello to the kids.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Faisal.
Inshallah.